Russia's Air Force has dramatically boosted its effectiveness in the Ukraine war with its increased use of glide bombs, contributing to Moscow's recent battlefield successes, according to Western experts. The plentiful Soviet-era bombs, which carry up to a half-ton of explosives, have been fitted with wings and guidance systems to fly long distances with some accuracy, allowing the Russian jets that release them to operate away from Ukrainian anti-aircraft systems. Along with Russian drones, missiles and artillery, the glide bombs have added new destructive firepower to Russia's campaign in eastern Ukraine, as seen in the recent conquest of the city of Avdiivka, Russia's first major victory in nearly a year. With the glide bombs, first deployed last year, Moscow has found an inelegant but effective solution to Ukraine's denial of Russian air superiority since the early days of the war. Although Ukraine has both air defenses and some fighter planes, the glide bombs allow the Russians to attack from greater distances. The bombs have a very high destructive power, said Dmytro Lihovy, a Ukrainian military spokesman in eastern Ukraine. These bombs simply demolish, destroying houses and foundations that can be used for defense fortifications. Ukrainian forces also use guided bombs, including the US-made Joint Direct Attack Munition System, or JDAM, which is more accurate than the Russian version but in much shorter supply. The Russian glide bombs most recently proved their deadly usefulness last month in Avdiivka, playing a major role in the capture of the town and transforming it into a blackened, bombed-out shell. In an account posted on the social media site Telegram during the battle, Maxim Zorin of Ukraine's 3rd Separate Assault Brigade described how 60 to 80 of the glide bombs were crashing into his area every day. These bombs completely destroy any position. All buildings and structures simply turn into a pit after the arrival of just one. Konrad Muzyka, director of the Poland-based Rochin Defense Consultancy, said that since mid-December, the number of Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian positions, the majority of them by glide bombs, has risen significantly, based on figures from the Ukrainian Army General Staff. Since January, Russian airstrikes across the front line have routinely exceeded 100 a day, with nearly 160 occurring 4 days before Avdiivka fell, he said. It just costs the Russians nothing really, Muzyka said. I would imagine that they have a lot of these bombs and they are not going to run out of them quickly. The mass use of drop-and-forget guided bombs containing foreign components is driving Russian advances in Ukraine, with up to 500 now being fired a week, according to a Ukrainian government analysis. High explosive and cluster bombs fitted with UMPC guiding systems with a range of 40 to 60 kilometers, 25 to 37 miles, are now said to be a central threat on the front line, forcing back Ukrainian forces. According to a Ukrainian government report obtained by The Guardian, such weapons fired from afar by aircraft played a key role in the destruction of the eastern city of Avdiivka and the seizure of its ruins by Russia. Russia took full control in mid-February of Avdiivka in the industrial Donbass region, its biggest gain since capturing Bakhmut last May. The Ukrainian analysts write, Russia uses UMPC bombs primarily to hit its targets in frontline areas, minimizing the possibility of its own aircraft being hit by Ukrainian air defenses. In just 1 week, from the 26th of February to the 3rd of March, Russia used more than 500 guided aerial bombs with a mounted UMPC. The free-falling Soviet-designed bombs used by the Russian military are being easily transformed into guided ones by adding a UMPC, planning and correction module, cheap wings and satellite navigation systems. They are described in the military as being drop and forget, as aircraft carrying them are able to fire out of reach of Ukraine's air defense systems. Russia's Air Force appears to have been a key player in turning the tide of the war in the Kremlin's favor in recent months at a time when Ukraine's air defenses are at a low ebb. A recent paper from the International Institute for Strategic Studies warned, Russia is using glide bombs, along with direct attack munitions, in volume to overwhelm Ukrainian air defense. The think tank noted that the source of the success of the weapon was the lack of capacity within the Ukrainian air defense. The reduced rate of missile engagements and the growing number of glide bomb attacks are indicative of the scarcity of air defense weapons, they wrote. This shortage is in part due to delays in European aid and the hold-up of the latest U.S. military aid package, which is worth around $60 billion. Passed by the U.S. Senate in February, it has failed to win the support of the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. Russia is reliant on foreign-made components but has not found any difficulty in importing them, despite the West imposing sanctions. The Ukrainian report on the latest military developments notes that on the samples of such munitions obtained by its forces, the surface of electronic components is rubbed or varnished, which prevents the identification of some components. Analysts have, however, identified a variety of key pieces of technology in the guided bombs which are said to have been imported to Russia via China, Thailand, and Turkey. The components were originally made by companies in the US, China, and Japan, it is claimed, although there is no evidence that any of the manufacturers have breached the Western sanctions regime on imports to Russia.